So have you ever felt like you were caught up in a never-ending battle with someone that just loves chaos? Maybe it's that colleague who turns every team meeting into a battlefield, or a boss who thrives on drama, or even a friend who somehow always makes you the villain. If so, you've likely encountered a high conflict person. High conflict people, they're so different, right? They're not just difficult. They are wired, I swear, wired in their brain to create and sustain conflict. So according to Bill Eddy, a leading expert on high conflict personalities, about 10 to 15% of people, they display these common traits. Sometimes I think it's more than that because I feel like I have a lot of people in my life that are high conflict people, at least right now. And these individuals rely on blame, emotional manipulation, and also control to navigate their world, making every interaction feel like a psychological chess match. But here's the thing. Once you understand their tactics, you, yes you, can stop playing their game. So let's break it all down. And by the end of this video, you are going to know the 4 key tactics that high conflict people use to stay in control. Hi, my name is Jennifer. I've been a leader in the medtech corporate sector for well over 20 years now, and I help ambitious professionals and businesses turn conflict into competitive advantage. I help them to master high-stakes leadership and also drive sustainable success through systems-driven discipline. So let's dive into 4 tactics that high conflict people use to stay in control, so you are on the lookout. The first one is blame shifting. They also want to play the victim. So high conflict people, they rarely take responsibility, if ever. If something goes wrong, it's never their fault. Instead, they twist the reality to make you the bad guy. How many of you have been there? I've been there several times, and I know what that feels like, and it's horrible. And research suggests that individuals with high conflict traits, such as narcissistic or borderline tendencies, they exhibit extreme externalization of blame. And that's according to the Journal of Psychiatry. So what's the goal here? The goal is to keep themselves in the clear and you on the defensive. So they often employ what's known as preemptive strike. Before you can accuse them of anything, they accuse you first. This tactic puts you in the position of defending yourself rather than questioning their behavior. How oftentimes have you been there? They're quick to blame and then you become reactive, right? But the longer that you engage, the more tangled that you become in their web of deceit, I call it. A second call out is emotional triggers and drama loops. So they love drama. Have you ever felt exhausted after interacting with someone? That's because high conflict people, they keep you in this heightened emotional state. They provoke you, they accuse you, and they create a crisis to feed off of your reactions. And studies in conflict psychology show that heightened emotional states, they impair rational decision making, making you more susceptible to their manipulations. And that comes from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. But they also tend to use intermittent reinforcement, a psychological technique that keeps you hooked. And that's where you get sucked into all of this drama. One moment they might offer kindness or even praise to you, making you feel like $1 million. And it makes you believe that they've changed. But just as you lower your guard, bam, the conflict reemerges. And now you're back right at it. And this cycle makes it difficult to walk away because you keep hoping for the good version of them, right? We're hoping that the good side returns at some point. And we actually deep down believe that. Third key strategy and area that they use is triangulation. They pit people against each other. And this is awful if you've been in this type of situation, because it makes you feel terrible. And sometimes they pit you against other people that everyone's in this drama, right? So divide and conquer. High conflict people, they love to manipulate others by spreading misinformation, creating alliances, and turning people against each other, which makes it really difficult to oftentimes maintain friendships, because they try to go after the people that are on your good side. And this keeps them at the center of attention while controlling the narrative. Workplace studies indicate that high conflict behaviors, they can reduce team cohesion and productivity by up to 40%. So this tactic is particularly dangerous in group dynamics, especially, such as workplaces and in your family. So if you're dealing with a high conflict person in these settings, it's important to communicate directly with others involved rather than relying on secondhand information. Otherwise, you really risk being manipulated into an unnecessary conflict. A fourth area is gaslighting and reality distortion. So some of these tactics we can pick up on a little easier, some not, right? Have you ever walked away from a conversation wondering if you were losing your mind? That is gaslighting. It's a classic high conflict person tactic. So they basically rewrite history, they deny facts, and they make you question your own judgment. According to a 2022 study in the Journal of Behavioral Psychology, gaslighting is one of the most common manipulation strategies used by individuals with high conflict traits. So they may say things like, "I never said that," or "Why are you way too sensitive?" Even when you're certain of what exactly happened. And over time, this kind of erodes your mind and erodes your confidence, and it makes you second guess everything that you're doing and your own gut and your own perceptions. But the key here to combating this gaslighting is documentation and validation from neutral third parties. So when you feel like you're being gaslighted, or if you're in a situation like this, the best thing that you do is get out a journal, document dates and times when things have happened, or put it on your laptop or even on your phone in your notes, but keep track of it, because it's something that they are doing to manipulate you and make you second guess yourself. And that in time erodes your confidence, your strength, your own personality. So how can you protect yourself without losing your sanity? First of all, you don't want to engage in their drama. The best way to win is to not play. So keep those interactions neutral and don't take the bait. A second way is to use what I call the BIFF method: brief, informative, friendly, and firm. BIFF. So it's a strategy developed by Bill Eddy to minimize conflict escalation. And you want to keep your responses short, fact-based, and unemotional. A third thing you could do is set boundaries like a pro. So be clear about what you will and won't tolerate. And boundaries are great just over the norm, because we need to protect our time and our energy, even from people that we love. So we need to set up boundaries of times we're maybe doing work, or times that we have family time, times that we don't want to take phone calls because we're busy doing something else and crushing our goals, right? But high conflict people, they push your limits. So be ready to reinforce your boundaries consistently. If they test your limits, enforce consequences without wavering. And that's the hardest part, I think, especially when you're really emotional, is enforcing what happens if they don't listen to your boundaries. Another area is document everything. If you're dealing with high conflict persons in the professional or the legal setting, keep records of your interactions with them. This prevents them from twisting the truth later. And keeping screenshots, emails, and notes of conversations, especially when dealing with them in the workplace or in legal disputes. And this is really important because I've been in situations where there's been some high conflict people at work and have tried to put me on the hot seat or get me in trouble. And I've had notes behind me and some screenshots and some emails, and I really needed to protect myself because not that I was going to lose my job, but I was really in a heated situation. And that takes away from your personal integrity, regardless if it's work or anything else, right? So protect your integrity, protect yourself, document everything. And don't try to change them. One of the biggest mistakes we all make, especially with people like this, is believing that a high conflict person will eventually see reason or just grow out of it. And the reality is that a high conflict person, that whole personality, it's just really deeply ingrained in them. And change is really unlikely unless they actively seek therapy. And even then, I'm not really confident in the whole therapy thing. I have to be honest. I have seen, I think, therapists really maybe even go against some of the people like yourselves who are dealing with this high conflict person and kind of jumping on board and making you feel even worse. So be careful who you work with as far as therapy. And when it comes to this, there's a highly unlikely chance that they will change at all. So instead of focusing on changing them, focus on protecting yourself. And if that means therapy, go seek support. So prioritize your mental health. Dealing with a high conflict person can be really draining. So protect your energy and seek support where you can, whether it's therapy, coaching, or simply finding trusted allies. You might also consider practicing mindfulness techniques to avoid getting sucked into their emotional whirlwind because it can be overwhelming. So be around people that lift you up. Find a coach. Coaching can be really super helpful just to help you iron out your strategy. They don't necessarily tell you what to do, but they can help be a guide and a resource to help you find the right resources to get where you need to go, especially with this person. If you're in a legal situation, a divorce, something like that, it can be very trying where you just can't even think straight and you need someone to help guide the ship a bit. So some final thoughts here is take back your power. High conflict people, they thrive on control. But once you recognize their tactics, you take back your power. By staying calm, setting firm boundaries, and refusing to engage in their emotional traps, you can protect yourself and even shift the dynamic. So it's also important to recognize when you walk away and when the right timing is. Because some people are in your lives in a big way, maybe a spouse, in work, something really close to you. So not every battle is worth fighting, and sometimes the best strategies is to disengage entirely. If you're dealing with a high conflict person in a workplace or a personal relationship where the stress outweighs the benefits, consider whether it's time to create distance. So the next time a high conflict person tries to pull you into the vortex of their chaos, remember, you don't have to play their game. You have the power to choose your response, protect your peace, and keep your energy intact. So have you encountered a high conflict person before? I can tell you, I can 100% guarantee that you have at some point. Who hasn't, right? Let me know in the comments how you handled it. I'd love to hear your strategies and add them to mine because we all need new things to look at so that we can beat these high conflict and narcissistic people. So, by the way, if you're looking to up your discipline game, download my free ebook, Discipline Made Simple, 5 Proven Ways to Transform Your Life in the Next 30 Days. I'll put the link in the comments in the description below. And there might be, I know there is, some tactics in there that can help you with dealing with these high conflict people. So if you found this content valuable, please consider sharing, please consider subscribing, and we'll see you all in the next video.